Police receive a call just after 5 p.m. on Tuesday, the 3rd of February this year, 2026. Ostensibly, it was a report of a man collapsed in the street. The call handler passed the phone to a female who was present at the scene, and it was that female that told us that Khaleed had been stabbed. The injured male was identified as Khaleed Oladipo. He was a 20-year-old student in his third year at De Montfort University. The female that was on the phone and told us that he'd been stabbed was in fact his girlfriend, who had attended the scene moments after the attack. Members of the public who were there on Oxford Street at the time stopped and tried to give help and tried to save Khaleed's life. The emergency services were called. Police attended the scene. The first responding police officers again tried to save Khaleed's life, but sadly he died an hour later at the Leicester Royal Infirmary after resuscitation efforts failed. Khaleed and Harper Dennis met online basically through the gaming community years before. They were in a Snapchat group or certainly an online friendship group with a number of mutual friends. And although they knew each other through the online community, they weren't necessarily personal friends or had physical contact with each other, but they knew enough to understand where each other lived in London, and they knew enough to understand that they were going to Leicester to study at their respective universities, Khaleed being De Montfort University, Harper Dennis being Leicester University. We can only glean about the relationship from what we've heard at court, but also from the communications that we've managed to salvage as part of this investigation. What appears to have taken place is sometime around December 2025, the relationship between Harper Dennis and Khaleed took a turn for the worse. And what we've gleaned is that there was a perception by Harper Dennis that Khaleed owed him money, and that money wasn't being paid back, or he wasn't making enough profit as a result of the enterprises that they were setting up on this Snapchat group. But either way, there was a debt perceived. Khaleed, on the other hand, felt that he didn't owe him any money at all. And so that led to almost a simmering frustration on the part of Harper Dennis, to the extent where we can strongly infer, and we've been told, especially by Khaleed's girlfriend, that Harper Dennis made threats through Khaleed's girlfriend to try and get this money back. And so both parties were threatened, or certainly that's what the evidence suggests. Again, it's very difficult to establish the full facts, and what we've learned is what he's told us and what we've gleaned from the evidence. We look to witnesses, we look to CCTV to try and identify, or at least start the ball rolling in our investigative process. What we did have was Khaleed's girlfriend tell us that at some point in the previous months there had been a dispute between Khaleed and a man called Harper, and that they were involved in a Snapchat group. Now, of course, the police need reasonable suspicion to identify anyone as a suspect, and it's at that time that I took the decision that, from what Khaleed's girlfriend had told me, that Harper Dennis, there was suspicion at least against him, certainly enough to justify his arrest. And so I directed that a team go out to his address once we could identify him and arrest him on suspicion of murder. That was done. He was arrested later that night. But of course, the investigation still has to understand, was he there? Was he the attacker? Was it somebody else? And so we started trawling CCTV, and we were able to track Harper Dennis leaving his student accommodation at approximately 10 to 5 that evening. We tracked him coming to the scene. we had, of course, the dash cam footage which showed the attack. And then we were able to track Harper Dennis running from the scene after the attack and heading straight back 21 minutes later to his student accommodation where he first came from. We know, having spoken to fellow residents at the accommodation, that Harper Dennis went back and asked a student to dispose of his clothes and get rid of them, basically. And it's from there that we were able to positively identify that Harper Dennis was indeed the right suspect and had indeed been involved in the attack of Khaleed.